I haven't talked to a lot of people in finance who like Bitcoin.
It's an asset class like any other. It's a version of digital gold. So it's an asset class that rises and falls like any other commodity.
Does it concern you at all that nobody really knows who created it?
Does it concern me? No. It's been, a decade? And it's still working just fine. While there have been hiccups along the way, the hiccups haven't been related to the Bitcoin architecture itself. The hacks that you hear about, like Mt. Gox, it's the exchange that got hacked. It's kind of like saying the New York Stock Exchange got hacked, therefore I'm not going to buy stocks.
Okay.
Bitcoin itself has maintained its integrity for a decade because the architecture was genius. So if TikTok goes and gets sold to, Microsoft, the Chinese government has said the algorithm doesn't go with it. My concern is that when you are looking at a TikTok video, it's monitoring your facial expressions and it's sending you videos that elicit the same response. And so after a long enough period of time, they know who you are as an individual. Are you a divorced dad with 3 kids? Are you a 17-year-old that's troubled? And all of that information is going to a firm in China. And who knows if they can inject things in the video feeds that make you think a different way. Maybe make you think a different way about your country, about your value system, about China. Maybe it encourages people to accept the fact that China is going to win in everything, and we may just as well become accustomed to that. That to me is frightening.
Are you aware of how weak our power grid system is? We are on the verge of the grid going down.
We have a vast preponderance of our electricity transformers that are Chinese. It wouldn't surprise me if those Chinese transformers had a back door and they could be turned off.
We don't even check them.
That is super dangerous. I sort of scratched my head when one of the first executive orders in the Biden administration was to allow for Chinese electricity transformers. And the prevailing thought was, these are commoditized products, who cares? Certainly the electricity companies wanted them because they were cheap. I think we need to do a very deep dive on where we're vulnerable. Nobody thought that China was going to be the malevolent adversary that it's become. One of the things that Trump did very effectively was open people's eyes to the unfairness. He looked at it with a trade lens, and he's absolutely right. How come if we sell a car to China, they charge a 20% tariff, and when they sell something to us, it's 2%? Shouldn't there be reciprocity? Shouldn't the tariffs be the same? We're getting screwed. President Trump is a deal maker, and he saw us getting ripped off. And so he decided to make trade changes and really start pushing back. And when he did, all of a sudden people said, wait, he's kind of right. And in retrospect, he was 100% right. The Chinese at this point have as much, if not more power than the cartels because they are the money bags behind everything. We lose 100,000 people to fentanyl every year.
Mm-hmm.
In World War II, we lost, 400,000 people? We're losing a quarter of the people we lost in World War II every year. And by the way, all the APIs, all the precursors to fentanyl come from one place. They come from China. If the Chinese Communist Party is in control of pretty much everything, and they are, it's hard for me to fathom that they wouldn't be willingly trying to poison the United States. It's deliberate. We're not fighting the Chinese people, we're fighting the Chinese Communist Party. And they mean to take us out. And the goal is to kind of push us out of the picture and install their system. And their system is a state-driven economic model and centralized control and authoritarianism. Our model is freedom of the individual, autonomy, and free market capitalism. These two systems are irreconcilable. So it's more than just a country. What we're fighting is an ideology. And I don't understand how our policymakers don't see this with clarity because it's so obvious.
I don't either.
We spend $7 trillion and we generate $4.9 trillion. So there's a deficit of $2 trillion a year. Now, people don't understand unless you can make it real for them. Let's assume you as an individual are making $49,000 a year and you're spending $70,000 a year. That's bad, but that's what we're doing as a country. If it's you as an individual, what do? Well, you max out your credit card one year. The second year, you take out a loan from the bank to pay your credit card. Over time, that's not sustainable. The way we generate revenue and shortfalls, we sell bonds around the world, and when people don't buy, the Fed buys the bonds. The Fed is the buyer of last resort. So you've seen the Fed balance sheet basically go from $4 trillion to $8 trillion because they're the ones buying everything. Well, how are they buying it? Well, they buy it by printing money. Central bank digital currencies are evil and bad in their current incarnation. What if we had a currency that monitored your fuel purchases? Well, you drive a truck. Well, in the interest of CO2 emissions, you can only fill it up a couple times a month. Or if you haven't gotten your 12th COVID booster, well, maybe your money isn't good at Walgreens. We want to avoid all of that. What if you're buying something at the pharmacy that's private? You don't want anyone to know that. If it's designed the way China's digital currency is designed, which is attached to a social credit score, then it's totally frightening. It's George Orwell. If I'm not getting screwed over in China, something is wrong. I stayed at this hotel called the Galactic Peace Hotel, which I thought was funny. And it says, welcome, famous American investor Erik Bethel. We're at our signing ceremony, and you walk into a hallway, and you have guys with TV cameras looking at you, and we're going to sign the deal. And I look at the numbers, and I look at the guy that I'm supposed to be doing the deal with. We were supposed to be paying X, and he had made it X plus 40%. And I said, bro, what's up with this? And he's like, well, we had to change things at the last minute. You're okay with it, right? And I said, no, but everyone's here. Like, what are we going to do? You have to sign. I was like, And I walked out. And so I'm walking out. Everyone's looking at me. It's very awkward. And so I'm about to get in my car, and the guy's like, okay. We'll go back to your original number.
Wow.
Welcome to China. I am a firm believer in the American spirit. What freedom means is anybody in the United States can make it. From a single mom that came from Cuba with no college education to a half Kenyan president of the United States, anybody can make it here. And you have the freedom through hard work, the application of effort, through taking risks, and from just busting your ass. You can do anything here. If we harness that energy that we still have in the United States, we will prevail. We can't tell generations and generations of American kids that our country sucks, that we're not worth fighting for, that we're irredeemably, evil or racist or something, because that's not who we are. Have we had a troubled history? Sure, but every country has. But I think we are a force for good. So there is hope.
Well, I got you a little present.
You did?
I did.
Is it Black Buffalo dip?
It is not, but it is a unplugged up phone.
Cool. What is this?
Are you familiar with Erik Prince?
I am.
Erik Prince developed a phone with a couple of partners. It has a kill switch, and so you flip the switch and it automatically puts a blocker between where the battery connects so nobody can listen in.
Wow.
Instead of having to put it in a Faraday box. You can control your VPN and all these different things from one menu. Even if you do download Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it will not allow those apps to track your phone when you're not using the app.
Cool.
Thought you might appreciate that.